Good morning.
Morning.
Where are you? Oh, there you are.
I switched.
You got the colorful background.
That's how I feel this morning. Yeah. So we're gonna see if we can do some magic. We had magic last night. Got out of there.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, we got out of there quick. Hey, efficiency, effectiveness. All right, Ms. Brenda, it's just after 9:07, and we have a quorum. Everyone is here. Please call this meeting to order, madam.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 9:07. We'll start with roll call. Director Alvarado,
I am here.
Director Martinez,
Here?
Vice Chair Bates.
Present.
Thank you, and Chair Suddeth.
Okay. Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Next item, public comments. Items not on the agenda. Madam Chair, we did not receive any public comments, and I do see someone on the attendee list. However, I do not see any hands raised at this time, so we do not have public comment.
Thank you so much. Seeing we have no public comments, please move to the next item, consent calendar.
Next item, consent calendar, consists of items 2, 3, and 4. Those are the minutes. SBS project amendment to engineering services agreement, and the SBS project authorized award of construction contract.
Okay.
Motion to approve the consent calendar, Madam Chair.
Second?
On the contract, that's the one that the city is getting ready to, you have to refer to the city.
Yes, sir.
That's the $3 million. Could I ask that be taken off the consent calendar for discussion? And prove the other two.
Which item was that? Which item number?
I think the award of the $3 million contract.
Okay.
That's referred to the city.
Yeah, item 4.
That's not on the consent calendar?
Yes, it is. And
That's
you're
correct.
asking
That's
to have
correct.
that one removed.
Yeah, I'd like to remove that for discussion.
Okay, so we will remove item 4 for discussion and move items 2 and 3 for consent.
So moved.
Thank you so much. Items being moved and seconded. And we will discuss 4 shortly. Madam Clerk, please poll the
Thank
board.
you. Director Alvarado,
Yes.
Director Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bates,
Yes.
and Chair Suddeth.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Next item, regular calendar. Do we want to address item 5 first, and then we'll address the item that was removed? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 5, the buoy repair replacement, global diving and salvage agreement.
Hey, Chair Suddeth, we can give a brief presentation on that, or answer questions, and Aaron will do that, show a couple slides and explain the process.
Let's have a brief presentation and then we'll ask questions.
Okay, good morning, Chair Suddeth and directors and staff. Aaron Weiner, West County Wastewater, Director of Water Quality Resource Recovery. We talked to you last month pretty at length about the problems with the buoy and the need for actually rehab of both buoys, replacement of one and full rehab of another. There are 2 buoys out there as noted in the staff report. And the staff report pretty much lays out, what we talked about last month. So if it works for you, what I'd like to do is just run through a very brief, maybe 3 pictures, and then take any questions that you have. And I'm going to grab the screen if it'll allow me. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is what the buoy should look like. This is WCA
Madam
number
Chair.
1.
I'm sorry, Aaron?
Yes.
Madam Chair, can I have a point of clarification? Are we doing we're doing
5.
number 4, or we're doing 5?
This is number 5.
Okay, so we're doing 5 first and then going back to 4.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry about that, Aaron.
Absolutely.
Sure, no worries. So as I said, this is WCA 1, and of the 2 buoys that are out there, only one has a radar communication system on it, and this is buoy number 1. You can see, I don't know if you can read the writing, but what it says above and below danger is submerged pipe. And as we've talked about, this is the marker that one of the 2 markers that outlines or shows marine traffic where our diffuser is on the seabed. So you can see there's a little solar array on top, and there's the Aton radar marker, I think it is, on the very top. So this is what it should look like. And when Global Diving and Salvage went out, bear with me just for a second, this is what they found on their return visit. So since this picture was taken, there is a temporary lighted buoy that's been installed. I unfortunately don't have a picture of that. And the only other thing I wanted to show you was this is kind of a schematic, and I think you can see this. This is a schematic of the buoy. You can see the water line, and then the important thing is that there's a red circle in the middle. That's a flotation device that's below water, and what they think is that it's failed. But they really won't know the full extent till they get out there and pull the buoy out, and they can see it on the barge or the ship, whatever they're doing when they do the work. So really, that's the long and short of what really wanted to show you, and why there is the need, obviously, to move on this project. So that's all I have, and we'll take questions.
Thank you so much.
Questions?
Director Martinez.
Yes. This is south of the Chevron Pier. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you have a map that shows the location of both buoys?
I don't have that, an aerial or a map type of thing, but I could certainly find that for you, Director Martinez, if you'd like, and provide it as a follow-up.
Okay, I'm a visual person, and it really helps me to see maps. And thank you for the schematic. That was it's always educational to see those things.
Sure.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions or comments? Director?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Aaron, these buoys have always been a problem because ships come through and they knock them over. We have no idea who's responsible. Is there any way that we can make them maybe a little bit more secure, or do the height, does that have maybe an effect? How can we maybe prevent continued having to replace them? You got any ideas?
As far as I know, Director Bates, this is the first time, and again, my experience only goes back a couple of years with these. I'm not aware that they've been replaced before. I think you're correct that occasionally they do get bumped into. Part of the problem is that one of the buoys, as noted, does not have a radar signal or a light. So that's something that we could look at, and ask Global Diving and Salvage about, what additions we might be able to do out there to make them, just more visible and that type of thing. We can certainly look into that. I'd be happy to.
Well, I was thinking about maybe a tire or rubber or something where when they hit it, it would bounce, but it wouldn't destroy it, and it'll, continue to float, as opposed to hitting it and all of a sudden it almost sinks. That's a technological thing that I know they're quite familiar with, and they may be able to come up with. But sometimes you hit them, if you just hit them and they just float around, and then they come back to its resting place. And
Yeah, and again, we will look into that. I think we also noted in the in the staff report that probably next spring we'll go out to we'll do an RFP for this work, and that's probably a good time to ask the questions. If there's anything additional we can do to make these more robust.
okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Did you have another
Direct-
question, Director
Yes,
Martin?
I do. So there's obvious traffic lanes that go by there, and so I was curious as to what size of ship it would take to disable the buoy, and what kind of traffic do we have going by there?
It's all kinds of traffic. It's heavy duty marine vessels. It's ships. But really, there are lanes, and the marker buoys, tell the traffic, the marine traffic, where the piping is on the seabed, as we mentioned. They're really not supposed to be, very close to those buoys, but as we know, occasionally, due to, it could be lighter traffic, it could be lighter boats, that are out there at night. But I think it's a combination of things, and sometimes those vessels just go where they shouldn't go. We read about mishaps, occasionally things running into each other. It's not a perfect science. That's all I can say. And frankly, I don't really know that much about it. I am absolutely not a marine navigator and don't pretend to be. So.
Yeah, the buoys, our marker buoys, and the pipe itself are outside of the shipping lane. But there's still plenty of water there for many smaller craft that could easily, go through that area. The larger ships should be in the shipping channel. And what we're not sure of, and we'll know once it's up on deck, is that float that Aaron mentioned when he had the schematic, is that it may not be that it was hit. It's just that the float has deteriorated and it's no longer serviceable. But that's what we'll know. But we're not sure exactly why it went on.
That's a good point, Andrew. And I would, I don't like to speculate, but I would probably speculate anyway that it was probably a failure of that flotation part of the buoy as opposed to an impact that caused the problem, because I don't think anybody even knows how old those buoys are. So, and the only other thing that I think is worth noting is that, we have had damage to the pipes, the diffuser pipes as well, from ship anchors. So again, it's just, we've got assets out there that are in an unknown and an kind of unobserved area, and things happen. So.
Yes, sir.
If there's no other questions, I'll move the item.
Just one more. I think one more from Director Martinez.
Yeah. You just mentioned that we have a lot of real estate that's in unknown condition. How often do we do inspections of the entire and when is the next one due?
Yeah, I apologize if I wasn't clear. What I was referring to, Director Martinez, is the pipes that are on the seabed there that the markers indicate. So we actually, we know the condition of those pipes because they've just been assessed through diving operations in the last year or so, maybe the last 2 years. And we actually we know the condition of those assets, and actually we have a project under development for repair as we speak. And that's something that will probably be coming to you in the next, I would expect, 6 months or so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. And the item's been moved by
And I second.
Vice Chair Bates and seconded by Director Martinez. Thank you so much. And do we have any public comment on these items, Madam Clerk?
Madam Chair, we do not have any, I did not receive any written comment, and I do not see any hands raised on the attendee list.
Thank you so much. So the item's been moved and seconded, and we are closing comments. Will you please poll the board?
Thank you. Director Alvarado,
Yes.
Director Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bates,
Yes.
and Chair Sudden.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay.
Next
So-
item.
Yes, let's go back.
I'm
to-
sorry.
No. Go ahead. Let's go back to number 4.
Okay. Next item, item 4, authorize the City of Richmond to enter into the contract for construction of the sodium bisulfite facilities project on behalf of the agency.
So, Vice Chair Bates, you wanted to have a discussion on
Yes,
this?
this has been thank you, Madam Chair and member. This has been a contentious problem for me for years, where we have developers and contractors, generally outside of our jurisdiction, coming in and getting huge contracts. This one is about $3 million thereabout. We have no idea of their commitment or what they have with respect to local employment, local subcontractors, and it just, it's our taxpayers' dollars, and seem like it's just flowing outside of the city. And my position was that I think we should have, I'm not opposed to the contractor because, as the report indicates, about over $500,000 below the estimate bid, which is admirable. But we need to try to ascertain and get these companies to be aware that we do have unemployment problems in our community, and that they should be sensitive to that effect and try to utilize some of our local labor. So that was the purpose of asking. And I think Yada, he knows my position very clearly because having, fought with the city council level. And that I'm not opposed to moving a project pending a profile by the company of exactly what local participation are they offering, providing. Now maybe they have subcontractors from Richmond and so forth. That's fine, but if we don't know it, we have no idea. And if we don't try to stress upon that importance to not only this contractor, but all contractors, they would just come in here with their own work crew from Sacramento or San Francisco, wipe out $3 million and not a dime. They don't buy materials here. They don't hire anyone from the Richmond, West County area. And they take the money back to San Francisco, Sacramento, wherever. And that's it. So that was just my concern. And I would hope that we would just ask them for a profile. And also, we need to understand that women are also a shortage. They're not being employed as on a level that they should. So we should have employment. What is your profile of employment with women, minorities? And that's, in a nutshell, what I was trying to express.
Thank you for that. I think we broached this subject last week, our last meeting, and I know this continues to be a concern of yours and of mine. And I see you, Director Alvarado, and I'm going to turn to Council Collins to also give us some guidance on this, but this continues to be a concern. I also have the same concern that we need to put some parameters for inclusion and equitable distribution of labor within the city, and to make sure, as Vice Chair Bates is noted, that we have, and I'm going to say not just small business, but that there's some deliberate inclusion of our small Black business, Latino business, and indigenous businesses in Richmond, because in women-owned business, veteran-owned business, but there is some deliberate outreach to local owned business in Richmond area, in the West County, West County, I should say, this West County coverage area, which includes Richmond. So I should say West County area. I know that there's a parameters of what can be said or how that has to be, that language has to be in the contract, but I know that there's a way to do it, because this continual outflux of money from the public's money from West County to businesses that are not based in West County is a very sore spot to our constituency, and we heard it. We sat on a panel, Director Bates and I, yesterday with our congressman, and it was noted, and it was an extreme sore spot to a lot of people in our community. So this is something that is not going to go away, and this is something that we are going to be held accountable for. So we need to find a way to make sure that we are being accountable and transparent with that accountability. So I would like to see how we can be both responsible with the money in having the lowest, most responsible and responsive bidders awarded the contract, but also they have to be responsible to make sure that they are upholding their end of the bargain with awarding these subcontracts to local subcontractors. Director Alvarado and then General Counsel Collins.
Well, thank you for letting me go before General Counsel, because my question is directed at General Counsel regarding this issue. This has been a source of a lot of frustration on my part, especially since this was the idea, not his idea, but both of our ideas. Late great Director McNeil wanted to do this, and I was told by the previous General Counsel that it couldn't be done. So I really want to get clarification on this, because I think we're banging our heads against the wall trying to get this resolved. And we really need to get it resolved for not only West County Agency, but for the West County Wastewater District as well. So I'd like General Counsel's thoughts on this. And not only that, we need to start putting this stuff in writing if we can. If we can't, what are the limitations? Why can't we do it? Why haven't we done it? Because like I said, this has been a point of frustration, especially for me. Wanting to get this community benefits agreement off the ground and never been able to do it. So what are your thoughts, Claire? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. No, I'm happy to talk to it. And I also want to be clear, I'm speaking as a general counsel, and this is not, it's my area to the extent that I know a very high level about it. We can prepare a more robust memo, but let me talk really generally about the principles at stake, okay? The first issue is that, we're a JPA and we're made up of two separate entities, the city and the wastewater district. Even though they're both public agencies, they actually have very different powers. So I'm going to start with the city. The city is what we call an agency of general jurisdiction, or an agency of general police powers. In this case, police powers doesn't actually mean like the police. It means what is the entity entitled to regulate and spend money on, right? What does it have the power over? And a city, as an agency of general powers, funds and manages a wide variety of issues, from actual police and fire to economic development, social welfare, the environment, et cetera, right? I think we can all agree that they have really broad jurisdiction. And therefore, they really have a large ability to shape certain things in their jurisdiction to meet various goals, such as social welfare goals, such as economic development goals, et cetera. In contrast, the West County Wastewater District only has the power, because it's an agency of limited jurisdiction, only has the power to facilitate essentially wastewater projects. It does not have an economic development power. It does not have a social justice power. So we are dealing with, in this agency, two public agencies that are members that have somewhat different powers. Let me just start with that concept. When we are awarding public works contracts under the public contracting code, we are required to award to the lowest responsible responsive bidder. Responsible and responsive are sort of by the book. Do they have the right insurance? Do they have the right sureties? Did they answer all the questions in the bid? That's responsive and responsible. And then the lowest is, what's the best value? What's the lowest cost for the owner of the project? And the law is pretty clear on that. And so typically, under the public works of construction, our hands are tied to basically provide the best value to ratepayers or taxpayers. That's the goal of the legislation of the law. That said, the city does have greater ability to support and to be able to enforce some of these disadvantaged business enterprises, or some people call it historically excluded business enterprises, and to make policy that supports those outcomes. We also have the ability to have a good faith efforts requirement, which is something that is more of a reporting aspect. After the contract is hired, we can require agencies, or we can require, bidders, successful bidders, to take steps to reach out to the community in terms of hiring and in terms of subcontracting. So we have a little bit of that in West County Wastewater in our project stabilization labor agreement. We do have some requirements for the contractors to undertake good faith efforts to hire locally and engage local subcontractors. But it's aspirational. It's not something that we can cancel a contract over. So, so we are, as a public agency, again, the state law has said we have to go for the lowest cost option because that's what's best for taxpayers from a fiscal standpoint. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we can put in there requirements for local hire, at least from the wastewater district side. The city, again, may have some more authority in that regard. So the reason why former General Counsel, Director Alvarado, told you couldn't do it is basically because it's not within our realm of powers and it potentially contradicts the public contracting code. So our goal is to how to merge those things, because these are important. And I don't want to, be a total wet blanket on this, but these are important public policy goals. And there is a way to integrate them as aspirational goals and as requests to the contractor. Part of this, and we talked about this with Mary Phelps last time, also comes out of what are the City of Richmond's contracting procedures, because the City of Richmond will be awarding this contract, not West County Wastewater, not West County Agency. So a lot of this is about the City of Richmond's process as well. And I told you guys I would come back to you with some more information on that process. I have gotten sort of little information on that process, except for that typically the city follows the funding source requirements, but we're both the funding sources, so that doesn't really get us anywhere, right? We don't have any enforceable requirements. So that's the background legally. We can prepare a memo that explains this in greater detail and what the legal limits are, but I also would just suggest, outside of the legal part of this, is there a way for us to identify historically excluded groups that are potential subcontractors and keep them on a short list and use them as recommended subcontractors for some of these larger general contractor works? This company that is potentially being awarded this contract is from Sacramento. So I'm wondering if there are other ways for us to support local business or historically disadvantaged businesses by obtaining or compiling a list of those businesses that the prime contractors can choose from. So I hope that answered your questions. It's not clear, though, and we don't have as much latitude, I think, as the board would like to make this a firm requirement.
Well, you answered my question. It's not what I really wanted to hear, of course. It sounds like if the city has a lot more autonomy than the special districts do in this area.
Correct.
Which I kind of knew that, but it's still frustrating. Now, the fact that this project is actually going to be contracted by the city, correct? By the city of Richmond?
That's
Okay, I would think that we'd have more autonomy there to kind of dictate what terms we want as far as hiring and the local community. Am I right or am I wrong there?
It depends on the city's contracting standards. So we're somewhat subject to that. And I think Mary mentioned that last time. There's a process the city goes through, and I'm sorry, Director Alvarado, I'm just not familiar with how that works.
Ms. Mary?
Yeah, basically what we do is we send the bids to our contract compliance manager, Gina Baker, and she reviews them to ensure that they follow all of the prevailing wages and, you know, the directives that we have in our municipal code. I have not heard back from her yet on this project, so that's what we're waiting for. She has all the bids and she is in the process of reviewing them. So that's why we're not sure if this will go on July 20th for the city council or the 27th. But she does have all the bids and she is our contract compliance officer.
I guess the question is, Ms. Mary, for her is there a stipulation for use of local labor? Is that part of your process?
It is part of the process. This contract is under city PLA agreement. And
Okay.
Gina is responsible for following those evaluations, doing those evaluations, including the goal for the local participation. So we're waiting on her to complete her reviews, and then we're gonna have a response.
Okay, so Director Martinez, and then I want to circle back to Director Bates because
Yes.
Vice Chair Bates.
The question that Council Collins mentioned, which was a list of these minority contractors. Do we have such a list? The question is directed to Ms. Phelps and Mr. Bermudez.
Yeah, Gina has a list that is not 100% complete per se, you know, but that list is available for all the contractors when they are bidding, you know, in order for them to meet the required local goals.
And what can we do to make that list 100%? And once we have it, can we share it with West County?
That's a question for Gina, since she's the one that does the outreach, you know, with all the local companies, you know, in the city.
Is this your plan holders list? Is this what you're talking about?
Pardon me?
This your plan holders list?
No, plan holder list is automatically available on Bids Online. There is a list of trucking companies, concrete companies, subcontractor, electrical contractor, everything related to construction that are from Richmond, and that is available to the. And then there is some type of agreement that the contractor signed whenever they're going to need a new person, you know, they have to hire through the Richmond Build program. That's another tool that is being used to try to reach all the goals, you know, that the city requires.
Yeah, I think I don't, and Director Alvarado, you can jump in, but to Vice Chair Bates' point, yeah, I know I would be interested in seeing this information because Vice Chair Bates brought up a good point about the women participating in this and you know other groups participating in this because understanding Richmond Build, I get this and I've been watching this for many years. The problem here is that there's this trap, right? If you're not in this particular system, you're not getting the work. And it's the same trap we ran into when in West County Wastewater, whereas everything had to flow through the union hall. But if you're not part of the union hall, you're not getting the work, right? And a lot of these very small businesses in West County, Richmond, whatever, they're not going through this one particular avenue. So how do you ensure that the monies for these businesses that are paying taxes in Richmond and West County are given the business in our area. And already it's a problem because this business that is getting these multi-million-dollar contract is in Sacramento. They don't live here. They don't pay taxes here. They don't have workers here. They're outside of our area. And they're taking the money from a very economically starved area of West County and Richmond. So how do we justify that to our taxpayers? And that is something that we all have to consider when we are awarding these contracts, notwithstanding the public contract code. And for those of you who don't know, this is what I do every day. I am a contracting officer. This is what I do, is procurement. So notwithstanding that, the intent of this is not to rape our communities, to give it to somebody who is not here. The intent is to satisfy our communities. So we have a bigger obligation than that. And these companies must invest in the community that they're taking this money from. And I am not against shaming them and publicizing it and making them do it. So we have to find a way to do it. And if Richmond has the avenue to do it, then we have to help them do it. Vice Chair Bates.
Well, I agree with all the comments. I think it starts with the application process, somehow identifying to the various bidders, Richmond or West County is a pro local business, and that if you're bidding on project, you need to be cognizant of that fact. And I think if you do it up front, then bidders who don't want to comply obviously will just ignore it and they will go somewhere else. But those who do submit the bill may make an effort to be cognizant of what we're referring to and come forward with some subcontractors. I think Yada can speak to this. I think, Yada, when we go out for bid, do we not provide a list of subcontractors for the potential bidders to review and make contact with before they submit a bid?
The bid that is going out has the list of all the ordinances for all the local participation requirements and the PLA requirements. All that is right up front. And then Gina Baker, the labor compliance person's name is listed there with the phone number for additional information. Those contractors that bid regularly in the city, we do have larger contractors in the city like Overrun, so they are larger contractors and they bid all these wastewater projects and they go through the same process, So all that information is there. For those new that come for the first time, they ask the question, they contact Gina, get all the information from Gina, and then they submit their bids. And then when we get the bids, we turn them over to Gina for the full evaluation. And she's responsible for, verifying all those requirements and then writing a letter or recommendation. That's the process.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your comments because it's incumbent upon the jurisdiction, West County agency or whatever, to also be proactive in providing, as you indicated, Yada, a list of the local subcontractors, men and women and so forth, to assist. Because a company from Sacramento, I would suspect, or not Los Angeles, but Sacramento or San Francisco, they generally have their own work crew. They've been doing that for years. So, and it's usually people that they trust and have had previous relationship with, and they tend to use them over and over and over again. So they never reach out for new local, and that's just a normal thing that any good business will do. You deal with those that you can trust, you've had a history with, and therefore new individuals you don't know, sure, you exclude them. And I think we need to provide them, as we do at the city level, various companies that they maybe can contact with. So other than that, that's as much as we can do. Hopefully, when it comes to the city, we'll do a little bit more inquiry.
I just wanted to follow up that in addition to labor contributions, I mean, they also use local businesses, trucking companies. We have quite a few trucking companies in Richmond that provide those services for the contractors. We do have also suppliers, electrical supplier. One of the largest electrical supplier in the Bay Area is in Richmond. So they do a combination of labor recruitment through the Richmond Build, you know, and also with the vendors.
Well, one last point, Madam Chair and the board. I don't know how to phrase this, but there are a lot of nonprofit organizations in our city. Salesian Boys and Girls Club, the PAL program, and there are others in San Pablo area, or the West County area. I don't know why we cannot just indicate, we're not demanding, but indicate that we also would appreciate these major contractors making us some contributions to local 501c programs, especially within the jurisdiction where they're getting this money from. Again, if you don't ask, you're never going to get. So they can maybe say, oh yeah, I'll make a contribution here, or maybe they will ignore it. That doesn't mean that legally we can hold a contract because they don't contribute to, say, one of these 501c's. But put it out there. Give them the opportunity to say, oh yes, just put it in your profile that we also appreciate those that are awarded these contracts to be a participant in our youth programs and other programs that benefit our community. So that's all I have. Other than that, I'll make a motion that we proceed with the awarding of the contract with those notated comments by the board.
Thank you so much. We do have a couple of questions from our audience, but just one, before we answer that, one question or one comment. I do want to, and Director or Attorney Collins, I wanted to bring up that often we talk about these bids as if it's the only way that we can contract. When it comes to contracting on major construction, this is true. But we also have another avenue with requests for proposals. Instead of doing just IFBs, and we can do requests for proposals, we can do on-call, A&E contracts, we can do other ways. But request for proposals does give you the avenue where you can choose based on other factors other than costs. So I would hope.
But that's only when there's performance. But that's only when there's performance-based. It's only when there's performance-based qualifications to award the contract. So we do use RFPs. They also give the agencies more flexibility. I 100% agree with you, Chair Sedith. It's just that in public works, I just want to be clear for the board. Sorry, in public works construction contracts, we don't have that option. But when it comes to services, when it comes to performance-based contracts, we absolutely do. And I know that West County Wastewater, at least for its part, absolutely does engage in that. And there can be an aspect of the performance-based qualification that could be an aspect of.
Yes, and I just want to make sure we're using that as much as possible, and that we're just not using, because often I see IFBs being posted that really should be RFPs. And so I just want to make sure that we're using every avenue possible to make sure that we use it, that we have the flexibility to bring in these local businesses. Everything should not be a bid. Sometimes a proposal will give us that flexibility to give some of these local businesses the opportunity to come into public contracting. And so if we can't get it one way, we can get it a different way. Then allow them to get the service. because sometimes these bids where you're giving them wholesale, the whole construction project, part of their project is services, is not, the whole thing is not all construction. So that's what I want to make sure that we're really honing in and making sure that there's not some of these that cannot be awarded to small business under the RFP process. So this is why I mentioned that, Attorney Collins. This is why I called you in. This is why I called your name. So I want to make sure.
Look, I think at least and I know the staff hears loud and clear, and I think that this is not new, right? We've been talking about this for quite a long time. These are important goals for the boards, and I think staff and legal, we can try to be thoughtful and creative on how we can best achieve that. So I do think we absolutely hear your message loud and clear. We obviously have to stay within the confines of existing California state law, and so I'm happy to work with the agency manager to look at what our options are, and also to work with the city of Richmond, especially in connection with West County Agency, to figure out where we can have more flexibility.
Okay, and with that said, there's the two questions in the chat from our attendee, meaning the city of Oakland has an ordinance that mandates local and small local business requirements for all contracts. I actually was on a panel with Councilman Lauren Taylor to help craft that ordinance, because I work in Oakland and I do procurement in Oakland. So if you want to address that one, and then the other one was West County wastewater include contracting requirements for local labor. So if you want to answer that one in regards to our PLSA.
Our PLA does require an aspiration of 25%, at least 25% of local labor to be hired through the local union hall. So that is part of at least the PLA aspect of it. Again, the city of Oakland, it's a city. It has different powers than we as a joint powers authority have. We adopt a number of the powers of the members of our JPA. So to the extent we can use the city of Richmond's powers to achieve more social justice goals, we should look at doing that. But the JPA, as a JPA, and I know that West County Wastewater, which I'm a little bit more familiar with their requirements, we do not have the ability to mandate local business requirements. So except for through the PLA, we don't do that.
Thank you so much. With that said,
Chair Sada?
Yes, sir.
I have one comment. Just because it's obviously important to actually this discussion on item 4, Brenda, which is we're talking the first sentence of the summary. There's a typo there. It says WCW advertised, and everything we've been talking about here is it's the city of Richmond advertised to receive the bids. The entirety of that process, which is important because it goes right to the local business issues that we've been talking about. But this was a process that was advertised, and the contract will be entered into by the city of Richmond.
Thank you. So that's important.
Is authorizing Richmond to take that action.
Thank you.
Thank you. Noted.
That is very important. Thank you so much, Sir Andrew. That said, if there are no other comments, Vice Chair Bates.
No, I previously made the motion, I thought.
Yes,
I'll second that motion.
Yeah, so Vice Chair Bates has moved the item, and Alvarado is second, and we have no further comments. Madam Clerk, will you please hold the board?
Thank you, Director Alvarado.
Yes.
Director Martinez.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bates.
Yes.
And Chair Sutton.
Yes, and noting that we have made a change in the summary so that it will read the city of Richmond rather than WCW.
Thank you. Motion passes.
So much.
Next item is item 6, reports from staff and directors.
We have nothing in addition, Chair Sutton.
Thank you, sir. Attorney Collins, anything from you?
I hope you all had a great 4th of July.
Thank you. These are the best reports.
My favorite holiday.
Fellow directors, anything?
Thank God it's July 7th and football season is less than 2 months away.
They're
You'll have a great
reports.
weekend.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
July 8th.
Thank you, sirs. Appreciate it. And I'm going to allow Madam Clerk to give us the base word. It is 9:57. You want to give us the word? We did it in 50 minutes. Ready?
Right.
Ready, Madam Clerk? Tell them what they want to hear.
That the last item is adjournment.
The meeting is therefore adjourned. Have a great. When is our next meeting?
In September.
Yep.
September.
That's a tough question.
So before everybody leaves, I need them to know.
Yeah, Brenda can get that.
I will get that.
What day in September?
It's the 16th. It's the 16th
Good.
of September, the 3rd Thursday at 9 a.m.
Okay, so everyone, we will adjourn until what day again?
September 16th.
September.
We will adjourn until the 16th of September at 9 a.m.
All right, so next time I see everybody, we'll be in football season.
See, and Sir Alvarado will
Well,
be very, very happy.
Next time I see you, I will have reached 90 years of age.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
God bless you.
And my birthday is always a holiday.
Yes, sir.
It's admission day for California, so.
Yes,
All right.
yes, sir.
Well, happy birthday.
Happy
We'll
birthday.
be driving by
Thank
in the
you.
parade. We'll be driving by in the parade to honk the horn.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right,
Have a
y'all.
great
Take care.
weekend.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.